We're ready, whenever you are.
Good evening. I'm Elaine. You guys all know me. The audience is the people in the lab. I wanted to share with you the point of care specialist program that I just completed. It was eight courses in this program, and today I want to share a little bit of those courses. I think you'll find this informative and beneficial. As laboratorians, we're used to doing the laboratory work in the lab. Point of care are those tests that are done outside the laboratory and the nursing units. The benefits for the people outside the hospital, outside the units, or outside the laboratory are for them to get a quick result and a quality result. Physicians really like that, and nursing likes that, and that is the way of the future. Point of care is a growing field. So I think we all need to know about what's required for point of care testing. And as laboratorians, we want to make sure that those results are accurate, that they compare to the laboratory methods that we have, and then also that they're cost effective. So that's the benefits to us, to make sure that we are providing the best point of care tests for the hospital. Laboratory testing is governed by the U.S. government under the CLIA regulations, and we have to follow the CLIA regulations in the laboratory. And on point of care testing, the same thing applies. CLIA stands for Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments, and each laboratory that does point of care testing, or each laboratory that does testing, has to have a CLIA certificate. People that are doing self-testing, like home glucose testing, home pregnancy tests, those are not governed by the rules, but all laboratory testing is. And this includes all the tests that are done outside the laboratory on the units. And then part of CLIA is that you have to be inspected. If you have a CLIA certificate of accreditation, which we do in the hospital, you have to be inspected every 2 years by an outside agency, and they will make sure that we are complying with the rules. That was the first course, and this is the second course. It was on policies and procedures. And as laboratorians, you guys are all used to reading procedures and knowing what all the elements are. They have to be standard. And the same thing applies to the point of care procedures on the floors. One key thing, you want to make sure that you know your audience. You are writing a procedure for people, their focus is patient care, not how accurate the test is. So that's our job, to make sure that the test is accurate. However, policies and procedures have to go from collecting the sample, to doing the test, to getting that result, to acting upon the result, and then in some cases even billing. So they have the whole spectrum of the procedure. The next step is the next course is communication, and in this they addressed all the people that you have to deal with as point of care. You're dealing with administration, you're dealing with billing, you're dealing with the point of care, the laboratory, you're dealing with the end user, and we're all putting it together. And so you'll have frequent communication with outside the laboratory. You need to know what the end user needs. You have to have, when you're communicating with them, you have to have, be compassionate with them. You need to know what they want with this test. You need to have active listening skills, eye contact. If you have a good repertoire with the people that you're working with, they will actively do what you want them to do and help solve issues that are coming up. One thing they said I learned from this is when you're talking to people, verbal or written, that your first sentence should be your end, which means your first sentence is your purpose of what you're doing. So that was an interesting cliche. First sentence is the end. And stress the benefits to the audience. Again, the end users are the people that you want to be communicating with. What's important to them is what you need to get through. The next course is on instrument selection and validation. When you choose an instrument, you want to make sure it's easy to use. There's fail-safe methods in there. The results are consistent, and that the results that you're getting from that analyzer compares to the laboratory. All the statistical analysis that we do in the laboratory for analyzers also apply to the point-of-care instruments. The correlations, calibration verifications, accuracy tests, precision, all those need to be done with those analyzers as well. And when you're selecting an analyzer, again, you need to get the people that are using the test involved. It doesn't always make sense to do a point-of-care test, however. Nurses and the doctors will request a lot of point-of-care tests, but you have to evaluate them. Does it change patient care? Does it improve patient care? Is it cost-effective? Will it correlate to the lab? So you need to take all those things into consideration. Okay, next thing is connectivity. And the goal of connectivity is getting the results from that glucose analyzer or any other analyzer quickly and get it to the patient's record, make sure the result is accurate, and we have to follow the HIPAA regulations, the protected information, protect patient's information. So you make sure that that's all there. Desirable features of point-of-care program, and we have these at Mercy, and a lot of the hospitals do have them. Bidirectional interface, which means results that we're putting in the computer, processes and analyzers, and they're talking back and forth. Some of the reasons you want to have a bidirectional interface is operator lockout. Make sure that whoever's using those meters, it has been trained on that. We want to have QC lockout, so people cannot use the analyzer if the quality control has failed, that they can't use it if the quality control hasn't been done. So all those fail-safe methods are important for that. And it also keeps track of lot numbers and all that kind of thing. We are not wireless at this point, but I foresee that to be the next step. So we, when they're using those analyzers, as soon as they get that result, it's going to be on the patient's chart. And they no longer have to walk to a docking station and put that meter in a docking station. Saves a lot of footsteps for the nurses as well. They would like that right now. We're not there yet. Costs money. Next thing that's important, next course was education and training. Again, in the laboratory, we're all used to all the requirements that are needed for education and training. We, same things for calls is involved at the point of care. They gave me a few tips on training staff. You have to keep in mind the end user. Everybody learns at a different style. You have sensory, the visual or verbal, and then the cognitive, and you want to have different styles in your education. And I try to do that. We have direct instruction, demonstration, and discussion. So, and you need to know what's important to them and how what you're training them on applies to their job. They don't need to know everything, but they need to know how it affects them. And you need to give them confidence in doing the test. So I always have playtime. We get to practice doing the tests. I'd rather have them make the errors when they're practicing so they know what the issues are going to be. The next thing is administration. And I do a lot of work at my desk. I have technical oversight of all the testing that's being done, and I also have to make sure they're working relationships with the point-of-care users. I have to keep track of all 900 users in the hospital that are doing testing, make sure that they all have the competency assessment up to date. The quality control has been done. It's just a lot of record keeping, so that's a big deal. And like I mentioned earlier, the goal of point-of-care testing is making sure we have a quality result. So the quality management is the end goal. And this kind of ties up all the other courses together, because you have a quality program, if you have good education, if you have good quality control, if you've done all your validations on the analyzers, standard policies and procedures, you should have a quality program. And then also you have to have quality indicators, so you have to be doing some measurements to see if everything that you're doing is actually being done. For instance, I keep track of scanning statistics from, I want people, the nurses, when they're doing a test, to actually scan the patient's wristband. And so they need to, that's patient safety things, they know you're doing it around the right person. So they get their scanning statistics every month, and then also they get their quality control errors sent to them to see how many times they failed this or that. And they actually like that. They want to see how they're doing, and that's important to give people feedback. So lastly, our point of care is, our goal is to have a quality result getting to the physician so they can treat their patients. Thank you.
Very nice. What do we like? What did she do really, really well?
Again, I go back to the PowerPoint, there wasn't a lot of words on there. I mean, it was just a keynote and she did the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
I like the way that even though where you're positioned, you didn't have direct line of sight with Cindy, you made an effort to make eye contact with her periodically. That was very good. What else?
She didn't seem nervous.
No, I didn't think so either. I didn't see any fidgeting or really a lot of weight shifting or anything like that. If you did, it wasn't distracting.
Okay.
So that's good. What else? You seem to know your material. So.
My manager wants me to give this presentation to the rest of the laboratory staff. Right. So they know what I'm doing.
In that setting, do you have to stay in one spot? I shouldn't say it shouldn't have to. No. Is that normal? The way that
I'll probably be sitting at a table
or
something like that and sharing it on it.
Okay. Because I know in some presentations you maybe have a spotlight on you because everybody else is in dark or something. And you have to stay in that spot. I didn't know that. No, I didn't. To me, this type of presentation is one I wouldn't move around much on. Okay. That's just my opinion because it's technical to me.
Well, and it's that's why I had to know my audience, because as laboratorians, it's different than general public.
Right. Right. What else would we like to see her work on to improve?
To improve, and I know it's just the practicing a lot of ums in there.
Did I say a lot of ums?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every slide you went to started out as
Okay.
and you did a great presentation, but the ums got to be a little bit.
Silence is okay, is what I've been told.
Yeah.
Silence is okay.
Yeah, while you're getting your thoughts, silence is.
Okay, that's good to know, and I know I do that, so that's great.
Maybe a little louder, too.
Louder? Okay.
I know you're a quieter person, but maybe a little more loudness behind it.
Maybe just project a little bit more.
Okay.
You don't need to yell at your audience, but just make sure that the back of the room can hear you.
Okay.
Very good. All righty.